In NBA history, there aren't many stars whose image has been crafted as carefully, or as oddly, as Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. As the face of the Oklahoma City Thunder's rise and the newly crowned 2024-25 MVP, SGA hasn't just been praised for winning, he's been celebrated for how he plays the game. To a lot of basketball fans and analysts, Shai represents a kind of basketball salvation. He's painted as a throwback, an artist in the mid-range, a smooth operator who doesn't rely on endless step-back threes or math-driven shot charts. Instead, he glides, slithers, and improvises his way to buckets, making the game look almost old school in a modern era obsessed with efficiency. It carries this idea that how Shai scores somehow makes him morally superior. The implication is clear. While other stars like James Harden at his peak, Trae Young, or Joel Embiid get labeled as foul baiters or grifters, SGA is supposed to be different. According to this narrative, Shai isn't gaming the system or hunting whistles. He's earning every bucket with elite footwork, body control, and touch. He's the guy who absorbs contact instead of chasing it, the one playing honest basketball in an era people love to call dishonest. But here's the thing, this whole narrative isn't just wrong, it's misleading. And more than that, it hides what might be one of the most damaging playstyles the modern NBA has ever promoted. When you actually dig into the numbers from the 2024-25 season and the start of 2025-26, a different picture starts to form. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander isn't the cure for the so-called foul merchant era. He's the final evolution of it. What he's mastered isn't just scoring, it's using the look of smooth, effortless basketball to mask a level of whistle dependence that puts even the most infamous stars of the last decade to shame. And this isn't just a box score argument. The consequences stretch way beyond stats. As Shai's dominance became official, ending with a championship run and a finals MVP, the league started flashing warning signs, big ones. During the 2024-25 season, national TV viewership dropped by a staggering 18%. The league blamed cord cutting, streaming fragmentation, all the usual excuses. But when you zoom in on game flow, stoppages, and how long fans actually stay tuned in, an uncomfortable truth starts to emerge. The product itself is the problem, and the style of basketball being led and celebrated by the league's newest MVP is becoming harder and harder to sit through. When you put it all together, a clear pattern emerges. The league hasn't just allowed this style of play, it's rewarded it. And in doing so, it's quietly draining the entertainment value out of the game. To really understand how deep this goes, you have to start with the raw numbers from Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's MVP season and what followed. On the surface, everything looks incredible. He led the league with 32.7 points per game in 2024-25, posted elite efficiency, and racked up win shares like a true superstar. But once you dig into where those points are coming from, the story changes. A closer look shows a level of reliance on the whistle that's wildly unusual for a guard. So unusual that it sticks out as a statistical red flag, not a coincidence. If you really want to understand how much a player depends on the whistle, there's one stat that cuts through all the noise: free throw rate. It measures how many free throws a player gets for every shot they take, and at its core, it answers a simple question: are you trying to score or are you trying to get stopped? When you look at the 2024-25 season through that lens, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander immediately stands apart, not just from average players, but from other elite scorers with similar usage and responsibility. Compared to guards like Anthony Edwards and Stephen Curry, guys who handle the ball, see physical defense, and carry their offenses, SGA is playing under a completely different whistle. Here's where it gets uncomfortable. Shai's free throw rate that season was 0.41. That means nearly one free throw for every 2 shots he takes. Think about that for a second. Anthony Edwards, who attacks downhill and absorbs brutal contact every night, sits well below that number. Stephen Curry, constantly grabbed, bumped, and chased off screens, generates barely half as many free throws per shot. Yet SGA is the one being marketed as the ethical scorer. And this isn't just about driving more. Yes, Shai attacks the paint at a high rate, but when you compare how often his drives turn into whistles versus a physical slasher like Edwards, the gap doesn't make sense. It points to something bigger, a clear inconsistency in how contact is being called when Shai is involved. And once you notice it, you can't unsee it. If the 2024-25 season was about setting the pattern, the start of 2025-26 is where things went off the rails. After winning MVP, you might expect Shai to expand his game, add new counters, shift his shot diet, keep defenses guessing. Instead, it looks like he doubled down on the same thing that got him there, generating whistles as the engine of his offense. In just the first 2 games of the 2025-26 season, Shai attempted 40 free throws. 40. That's an all-time NBA record for a player's first 2 games. And that's not the stat line of someone finding their rhythm. That's a player stress testing the limits of a system that's already cracked. By December, he was averaging 10.2 free throw attempts per game, second in the league behind only Luka Doncic. But here's where context matters. Luka earns a lot of his fouls through post-ups, size mismatches, and defenders having no choice but to foul. There's weight and force behind the contact. With Shai, a huge chunk of his free throws come from the perimeter or off light, glancing contact on drives. And that creates a weird visual disconnect where the punishment, 2 free throws, feels way heavier than the crime. It doesn't just slow the game down, it makes it feel wrong. Supporters of Shai usually point straight to his true shooting percentage as proof of his greatness. And to be fair, the number is elite. But there's an important catch. True shooting heavily rewards free throws, which are literally the most efficient points you can score in basketball. Once you take free throws out of the equation and look strictly at shooting from the floor using effective field goal percentage, the picture changes. Shai still looks good, but he suddenly looks human. A big reason for that is how often tough possessions get rescued by a bailout whistle. Shots that might have been contested misses or awkward turnovers instead turn into automatic points at the line. And this is where the ethical scorer label starts to fall apart. People hear efficient and assume it automatically means skilled, without asking how that efficiency is being created. The very thing driving those numbers, the constant foul drawing, is also what's dragging down the viewing experience. Now, calling someone a foul merchant isn't just about free throw totals, it's about intent. Shaquille O'Neal lived at the line because defenders literally couldn't stop him without fouling. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander lives at the line for a different reason. He's mastered a set of movements that exploit the limits of NBA officiating. The most controversial move in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's bag, the head snap. It's basically a trained reaction. As soon as he starts to drive, or even feels the defender nearby, his head suddenly jerks backward, like he just took a shot to the face. Now here's why that matters. In real foul situations, your body reacts to where the force actually comes from. Get hit in the chest, your torso moves back. Get hit in the face, your head snaps. Referees are trained to protect players' heads. A sudden, violent head movement triggers an instant danger response. The whistle comes out almost automatically, sometimes before the ref has even processed where the contact really happened. As Jaylen Brown put it when criticizing flopping back in 2025, flopping is acting like you got hit when you didn't. The head snap is basically that idea made physical, a performance designed to sell something that didn't actually happen. Then there's the arm hook. Here's how it works. Shai is in the lane. A defender is playing defense, which defenders are allowed to do, maybe. Shai extends his off arm or shooting arm under the defender's arm, essentially hooking himself. Once that hook is set, he throws his arms upward like he's going into a shot. From the referee's angle, it looks like a defender reaching in or pulling down, so the foul gets called. Even if the defender was actually holding legal position and staying vertical, this puts defenders in an impossible spot. With a pump fake, you punish a defender for making a mistake, jumping when they shouldn't. With the arm hook, the defender gets punished just for being there. It removes defensive agency entirely and turns the possession into an exercise in trying not to exist near Shai. When a defender braces for contact, Shai snaps his head back. The ref sees movement, sees contact, and defaults to calling a blocking foul on the defense. So now you've got a double advantage. Shai is allowed to initiate contact to create space, and the defender gets punished for absorbing it. That's the real reason he looks unguardable. It's not that defenders can't stay in front of him. It's that, under the current whistle, they can't guard him legally. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander becoming the face of the NBA didn't just happen in a vacuum. It happened at the exact same time the league's cultural pull started slipping. Because when you actually line things up, there's a pretty uncomfortable overlap between the style of basketball being promoted at the top of the league and the growing number of fans tuning out. At the end of the day, the NBA isn't selling spreadsheets, it's selling entertainment, flow, athletic chaos, tension, and the SGA style works against all three. Thunder games consistently feature long stoppages because of free throws, lots of them. Games with 60 or more combined free throws aren't rare anymore, and every trip to the line stretches the broadcast, slows the pace, and drains the energy out of the building. Scroll social media during Thunder games, and you'll see the same words over and over: unwatchable, boring, ref ball, merchant. That's not accidental. Watching a player walk to the line again and again is the least dynamic action in sports. Everyone stands still, nothing happens. In over 48 minutes, that dead time adds up. Here's the irony: Shai's highlights do great online. A smooth step back or a tough finish looks amazing in a 12-second clip, but the full game experience is where the illusion breaks. The ethical scorer myth thrives on highlights and collapses in real time. The Thunder were dominant in 2024 to 25. Massive point differential, elite record. On paper, that should be a ratings boost, but dominance only works when it's fun. The 2016 Warriors were dominant and electric. The 90s Bulls were dominant and must-watch TV. Their runs were loud, explosive, and emotional. The Thunder's dominance is efficient, procedural, quiet, built on whistles and control, not moments that light up an arena. And that difference matters. Fans don't hate winning. They hate winning that feels like paperwork. This is where things really hurt the product. In today's TikTok economy, attention is fragile. Every head snap, every trip to the line adds 1 or 2 minutes of real-time delay. In crunch time, 5 minutes of game clock can turn into 20 minutes of stoppages. During the 2025 finals, this became impossible to ignore. Even games the Thunder won were criticized for having no rhythm, long pauses, choppy flow. Casual fans didn't stick around. Shai doesn't just score points. His style consumes time, and time is the most valuable currency the league has. This criticism isn't just online noise anymore. It's coming from players. The breaking point came when Jaylen Brown spoke openly about what it takes to reach MVP status in today's NBA.
If you want to be a great player, you got to sell your soul. You got to be a flopper. If you want to be an MVP, you want to be top of the top, you got to sell your soul and just be a flopper. You know what I mean? Y'all tell me what y'all want me to do. Y'all want me to be on that? I could do it. I could start going to practice and working on working on throwing my head, you know what I mean? Working on, hey.
He was careful to give Shai his credit, but the message underneath was brutal. That wasn't just trash talk, that was frustration. Brown was saying what a lot of players already feel. This is the game now. If you want awards, whistles matter more than buckets. And even if you hate it, you have to play along. That's a cultural split between players who see basketball as a test of skill and players who treat it like a loophole hunt. None of this is to say Shai isn't talented. He is. His handle, touch, and vision are elite. But pretending his game isn't built on officiating exploitation is ignoring reality. If this style keeps getting rewarded, the next generation won't work on jump shots, they'll work on head snaps. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander isn't the savior of basketball. He's the cleanest, most protected grifter the league has ever produced. And until the whistle changes, the ratings won't. Like, subscribe, share, and maybe even hype the video. Let me know in the comments if you agree that SGA is an underwhelming superstar. Thanks for watching.